My name's Katie Jensen. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I've been working in my art form since as long as I can remember, probably preschool age. I always loved working with my hands, and so painting and anything with color, working with found objects and things that feel sensorily cool, like even like macrame, weaving things together. I've always had a really hard time choosing between one discipline, and so I just figured I might as well not limit myself because I would get bored. There's not really a rule I have to follow. I can do mixed media. I can paint with string. I can tell a story with my artwork, no matter what medium it is. I have a studio at the Fitch building. I'm a Studio 404. You can find me there. I also have an Instagram, Nostalgic Creative, and a Facebook page as well. And it comes from my love of retro things from the past, memories. I have a highly detailed visual memory, and I paint a lot of paintings and photos from feelings and stuff that I remember feeling as a child. Could be like a staircase going up from the basement, and I can remember that point in time, being a kid looking up at the staircase and seeing like the cracks in the cement and the spiders crawling on it. Then I can kind of transfer that into like a current drawing. I also really like textures, patterns, like especially like 70s, like funky groovy swirls and dots. Ever since I can remember, I've liked to look back at the past. A lot of people think that's not so much of a good thing because you can dwell in the past. But for me, a lot of the things I'm looking back at are good memories and feelings of nostalgia. It might be a little bit melancholy now thinking back at it, but I'm happy that I had that memory in that time. And I think a lot of my artwork roots back to my feelings that I felt as a child. Like, I need to express the way that I see the world. Because I remember when I found out I had synesthesia, people would ask me questions like, what are you talking about? You can taste green, or you can like smell blue. I'm like, that's just the way that my brain works. And I've learned a lot about it as I've gotten older. And I think that as a kid, I was just trying to portray like how my brain is working, just to kind of like work through it and get it out, almost like a therapeutic exercise. Memory is very important. I rely on it a lot when I'm creating artwork, and the memory usually is a good memory, and that's why I want to create artwork from it, to remember that. I think a lot of my art has to do with the way my brain works. I have a condition called synesthesia, so basically when I see a color and another involuntary sensation in my brain will create something. So sometimes I'll smell somebody's house, and then immediately in my brain I'll be like, this smells like carrots, a picture of a carrot, and it's just like the color orange is vivid in my brain. Everything that I observe in the world is through that filter. A lot of things that people wouldn't have that perspective. It just kind of makes my art a little bit different and more unique to me. I'm into music. I always like played instruments and stuff too. When I listen to music, I see colors, I see patterns, and I like to just reflect that onto my artwork. So the sensory crossover for me is color grapheme, which is like letters and numbers that are certain colors, and it's in my mind's eye. So it's not like projected out in front of me. There's all different types of synesthesia, and a lot of artists and creative people tend to have it. And for me, like, people's names are a combination of letters, and that person's name is a combination of the colors of that letter. So my name, for example, K to me is pink, and A is yellow, T is orange, I is blue, and E is green. So my name, because of the K, it's pretty pink heavy, and it almost has like a texture to it. And people's names and words and sounds and stuff will create an involuntary response in my brain, and I can't help that. Like, so sometimes someone's name is Eli, automatically think E, green, I think of a snake and the snake slithering, and it kind of will give me an idea of how to remember people's names sometimes, which can be helpful. but it's also very confusing to people that have no idea what I'm talking about. For me, it makes sense, and that's all that really matters for me. Generally, I just start by sketching out ideas. Like if I want to work with certain colors, I'll pull some colors together and look at them. Then if I'm doing like an abstract painting, I'll kind of look at textures, colors, and kind of see what kind of works together and what's working with my mood. If I'm working on a nest or a found object piece, I'll start with one object and I'll kind of curate other objects based off of the one. So if I start with like an old house key, I might put some like pieces of shingle or something that's kind of connecting it back to the theme of the house. Some of my pieces that I've created that are my favorite would be mural work. I love mural work and I love seeing my artwork go from like a small image onto something large. Like the Perry mural that we did with the high school students too. It started out with just a sketch of wildflowers and Iowa birds, local fauna and flora, and then a couple years down the road, we happened to have an opportunity to work with Mary Rose and the Mary Rose Collective and Art on the Prairie, and they curated this mural. So we had a big giant mural, and it has just like grasses like flowing and wildflowers and birds, and there's just a little bit of everything. I'm always the type of person that's looking at the ground and picking up shiny things that I see on the ground, and it gets me in trouble a lot of times because I'm always falling behind and people are like, what are you doing? Don't pick that up. But like I found like a lighter case when I was in Nevada, and it was just a weird like rubbery looking thing. I was like, you know what? I don't know, but I need to use this for something. I'm not sure. If I'm not sure what I'm going to use it for, I'll hold on to it. And then other times I'll find a second object and then it can kind of tie back into the first object. Like a stick that's like shaped a certain way and like blending in like natural things with man-made things so that there's kind of like a harmony between them, but also a dissonance at the same time. And with my nests, a lot of my found object art are these little nests that I create. I call them treasure nests because to me, all the little things that I find are treasure. And I love using like antique, like clip-on earrings and things like that, and picturing like maybe a type of bird or animal that would want to like make this their home. How I'd like to see my art grow over the years would be to continue with the found objects, maybe even combining more recycled things or even doing like a community artwork piece. I have an idea that would be really great to use a bunch of bottle caps to create kind of like a mosaic, kind of like a paint by number thing. I'd like to create these shadow boxes that are kind of little hidden scenes. So there might be different layers that you look through and it'll be a frame and you can kind of look to see that it tells a story. Like there'd be a small like cutout of the moon or the ocean or a butterfly, and then it would kind of put you into that scene. I would like everyone to know that I don't take myself too seriously. I create because I want to create and because I need to create, but I'm not creating to please anybody else or to fit some certain structure that society says you need to fill, you know. I would like to make money off of my artwork, but that's not why I create artwork. I need to create art to express myself, otherwise what would be the point of living? My exhibit for ArtForce is going to be called Secret Garden, and it's kind of about finding your own little corner of the world where you feel safe. And I think right now, in this time frame with what's going on in our world, it's really important to kind of make sure that you ground yourself and remind yourself that we're human, being one with the earth, putting your feet in the sand, touching the grass, just reconnecting with nature. Going to have some like acrylic paintings. I have this piece that's a gazing ball, and it's actually from a photo I took when I was in high school of me like looking at the reflection of a gazing ball. So it's a larger acrylic painting, but I also have some smaller watercolor pieces. I have almost these like plant studies, like wildflower studies. I have the treasure nests that kind of have a secret garden feel, something that you might find in a little whimsical garden. I am planning on doing the little shadow boxes with the creative little scenes for the show as well. I do macrame, and I'm going to have macrame hangers and tiny, small little knick-knack things that people can put in all around their house.